he just went low. He's in his head. He's in his head. He's open. His head wide open. Cracked open in the face.
Hey, what's going on guys? It's Mario Man 100 back again with the How's My Team series. It's time for episode 5. I'm just making this intro really quickly because I'm just about to head off to the Titans game. But we have a few games to talk about. We have all the teams to talk about this week. We have obviously the Titans game, which is today when I'm recording this session, this section of the video. Obviously I will talk about the game tomorrow because obviously the result has not happened yet. We have an epic clash between finals contenders in the Wanderers game and also Western United. We also have Liverpool playing late on Sunday my time, so there'll be a section recorded on Monday, and also the Giants also playing on Sunday afternoon against the Saints in a top 8 clash. So without further ado, welcome to How's My Team, and first off let's start with the Titans. Well, it's Saturday morning, obviously a jersey change. So this is the old Titans jersey, that's the old logo on it. I think this is actually the away jersey, the white one. But yeah, this is an older jersey, as you can tell from the NRL logo, it's also old as well. But the Titans once again have lost. They've lost away from home. 38 points to 16 against the Dragons. So 22-point loss. I went to the game. I'm going to show a few photos of where I was sitting in that. Good decent seats in the grandstand, I will say. Like, the atmosphere was pretty good as well. The music was up a little bit louder than I thought it was going to, which is not too much of an issue. I don't mind them playing music at games and stuff like that. I think some of the tracks that the DJ played weren't actually ideal, especially when they were remixed. Weren't as great, but yeah, the Titans, I don't know, honestly. I know they haven't won at Wynn Stadium at all. I didn't know that was a stat until not yesterday, I think maybe Thursday. So hopefully I was thinking that it was going to be like a close game, and it wasn't. It really wasn't. I will say that the referee and the video referee / the bunker took off a couple of tries off of us for a few infringements and mistakes, so that kind of hits momentum a little bit, and the fact that I think we could have scored 2 or 3 more tries than we did. But we just haven't been playing. The last couple of weeks, it feels like we've regressed, and I don't understand why, because this team is a good team. Like, if you're looking on paper, a lot of the teams this year, in terms of the competition, in terms of the NRL, a lot of the teams that are there, like all the teams, I think there might be 1 or 2 teams that might stand out that might not have a fantastic roster, but ours is pretty good. And yes, okay, we did have Tino out due to suspension from last week, obviously with a high shot. And we've got, some of our first pick players like Keanu Kinney are not there as well. They're injured, as well as Kieran Foran. But I don't know. I understand that the Dragons in themselves are a bogey side for the Titans, but a 22-point loss, considering, last week, considering that you'd lost against what was a makeshift team in last place, and the Dolphins, because obviously the Eels had won against the Dragons at Wynn Stadium the previous week, you would have thought that, they would have played arguably a lot better than they did. And especially coming out of the blocks, and it didn't work that way, and it was a bit disappointing, to say the least. Like, I felt like halfway through the second half that I basically had wasted my time and my money, and that's not a good sign. And yeah, it just feels like we've regressed a lot, and I don't understand why, because the teams that we played up against in the first couple of rounds, like, we got beaten by the Bulldogs, but not by a huge chunk of points, and they're still in first at the moment. They're still going to play this week. And then you played against the Knights, who are sitting in front of us at the moment on the table. They're sitting in ninth, where we dropped down to 10th, with still quite a few games left to play, and the Dragons have jumped us into 7th. So we've played against the Knights, and we've also played against the Roosters, which the Roosters actually got up against the Broncos last night. So I'm kind of laughing in regards, because it's the Broncos dropping a game that they probably shouldn't lose, but at the same time, it's disappointing that they can't win at Wynn Stadium for whatever reason. They have never been able to do that. They've gotten close a couple of times in 2009 and 2012 by a margin of like 2 or 4 points. That's the closest they've been, but they haven't played at Wynn Stadium a heap over the years. But it's just disappointing with the team that we've got and the team that the Dragons have got. And I understand that we had Tino out this round due to suspension, and a few injuries here and there with obviously Kieran Foran, Gianna Kinney, and not talking about other players that are being injured that I can't remember at the moment. It's just a disappointing thing. Like ultimately, they just didn't feel like their defense is very sloppy, and I know that they've been able to leak points before, but it just feels like that some of the tries that were let in were actually let in. Like, they weren't actually defending as well as they could have, and they just didn't make an effort to defend some of those plays at all, which is not what you want. And I understand, I know that the referee is not an excuse. I said to my dad, I was saying to the referee, I'm like, look, this referee, I think it was halfway through the second half, I think that we had a try that was almost called a forward pass. It's one of our last tries. I thought that he called it a forward pass, but they didn't. Obviously, the bunker can't rule on that, but they went up to the bunker anyway, and I think it was just for the put down and the contest that was there. And I think probably about 10 minutes beforehand, they went up for a try opportunity, and it got disallowed. It was called a try, and then it was disallowed. And the referee that did ref the game has reffed Titans games before, and it feels like there is a little bit of bias from that referee to the Titans in terms of blowing penalties and stuff like that against them. I'm not completely gonna blame the referee, because the Titans definitely need to play better. AJ played reasonably okay, but he could have played a lot better in a lot of sequences. Jaden Campbell was kicking a lot of basic kicks. There wasn't too much variety. And I understand with Wynn Stadium in particular, if you've gone to that ground, this was the first time I went to the ground, but even watching it on TV previously, in previous years, the wind is a factor. Because considering it's right near so if you see from the grandstand, you might even see some of the photos of me putting it up, The ocean is not too far away from the stadium. It's pretty close to the coast. It's not like obviously on the beach specifically. It's like a couple of blocks, it's maybe a block or two away. But it is in close vicinity of the ocean. You can see the ocean over the back hill, where a lot of the crowd, especially a lot of kids, are on the hill. And that's one. I will say that is one thing that I love about like grounds like Wynn Stadium, McDonald Jones in Newcastle, which I still kind of call Blue Tongue in the back of my mind because that's what it was called back when I was watching games there. Like they have the hill section, and it's great. It's a great thing for I'd say I don't know whether regional stadiums is the right wording and right phrase to call it, but that seems like that's correct. But like the hill is especially great for kids and stuff like that. And you can see over the hill the ocean is there, so you're getting that ocean breeze coming through. And obviously it's not a roof stadium, so the wind coming through can affect a lot of kicks and stuff like that. But even the variety on some of the kicks that Jaden Campbell had, there wasn't that much. And if you're trying to play some attacking football as well and trying to get back into the game, you got to have variety. And it's an issue. It is an issue right now, especially with AJ not kicking anywhere near as much, especially for him. I think there's a few grubber kicks. There's been a few good kicks that he had during the game, like 2 or 3 good kicks. And obviously he didn't kick the ball much more than that. But I think some of the execution, some of the plays were not ideal. The debutant, Alan Fitzgibbon, played reasonably okay. But the game was almost put to bed at the time that he was put on the field. And it sucks because, it feels like, again, like we said, we've regressed instead of actually progressing and actually improving. And, injuries and suspension, like you could use that as an excuse, but only to a certain extent. You've got to turn up to play football. And I know we hadn't won at Wynn Stadium at all, and we continued the trend, but at least make an effort to at least make it close. Because you guys got buried. You're lucky that you scored 16 points because it was looking pretty bad. Like I think they had a try or two disallowed as well. So they could have scored well over 40 points on us this week. And I know that we had a few tries disallowed as well, but they didn't play anywhere near as good as they should have. And it's disappointing. So we do go back home on Sunday at 2, I think, for the early game on Sunday. So I think Sunday, I think it's going back to 3 games possibly. With obviously time zones being shifted back from daylight savings last week. We're now getting the games at around 2 and stuff like that. Obviously in a couple of weeks it'll be 10 to 2 against the Bulldogs, but that's at Magic Round, so that's playing multiple games at Brisbane. And I think specifically with Brisbane, I think it's usually Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They don't usually have the Thursday game, so they're going to make shift for Sunday and shift a game to earlier in the day so they can shift all 3 games on the Sunday, and one of them is ours. But yeah, we go against the Raiders next week, Easter Sunday at 2, so it is the early game on Sunday. And hopefully we do reasonably well. The Raiders have not played yet. But hopefully we do reasonably well at home, coming back home, because after coming back home, we don't travel away for another 3 weeks, because obviously the game against the Bulldogs is in Brisbane, so we're not travelling too far away from home. We do have a little bit of travel. Obviously, we do go home next week to the Gold Coast against the Raiders, and then the week after, we go to Townsville against the Cowboys, and then back to Brisbane. So, and then after that, obviously, we go to Newcastle against the Knights. So it's not too much travel around Queensland, thankfully. in the next couple of weeks, so maybe we can pick up some wins. Obviously, we're eyeing next week to be a bounce back and against a good side in the Raiders as well, because the Raiders are still in the top 8 despite a couple of losses. They're a reasonably good team, and I expect them to be around the 8, if not possibly just missing. If anything, if they do miss, it's probably going to be close, like last year. But I expect the Raiders to be there with the way that they've been playing football, and I'm hoping that it's going to be at least a close game, if not a win, and a dominant win for the Titans. Obviously, the week after against the Cowboys is another one to look at. It is a rivalry game, but in terms of the ladder, obviously at the moment, the Cowboys are in 14th and we're in 10th. The Cowboys, I believe, have still got to play this week, so we'll see how we go. But we're definitely eyeing that rivalry game as well against the Cowboys in Townsville, and hopefully we can get a win there as well to get back on track, because last night's performance was not great at all. 22 points down away from home, especially really early too. Like, they didn't score too many tries in the last 20 minutes. I think they only scored 1. It was a great atmosphere, great game. It's a great stadium to go to, but not necessarily the greatest game to watch, I guess. But a little bit disappointing, but I guess that's the life of a Titans fan, I guess. So it's officially Monday now, and next team that we head off to is the Western Sydney Wanderers. They actually won against Western United yesterday afternoon, 2-0 against Western United at home. So fantastic result. Definitely helps with our finals hopes and dreams. I think we're not locked in for finals at the moment, but obviously we've shaken up the table a little bit, just for the fact that obviously Western United were second. So their fight again to get the Premier's plate is still up for grabs, obviously with a 2-2 draw, I think it was, for Auckland FC against Sydney FC, even though Sydney FC were up 2-0, which is funny. And I say it's funny because Sydney FC is still outside the top 6, and it looked like they're going to miss finals if they don't pull their finger out and actually play well in the next few games. They need to win a few more games as well. Actually, they might be in the top 6. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at the table again. But I know that Western Sydney Wanderers are 4th with that win, which is great. I think it's only just in front of Melbourne Victory on terms of goal difference, which is fantastic. 2 goals to Alex Gersbach. He hadn't scored at all in his career. I think they said that, or at least 11 years since he last scored. And he actually scored twice, including a very close Olympico for the second goal. Like I said, great result for the Wanderers. It feels like they are primed and ready for finals, which is great, because yes, it's only a couple of weeks to go. But the way that they're playing right now is great football. Just got to make sure that we don't have any injuries. That'd be perfect. But being this red hot, I think 10 games unbeaten, and including a few wins in that as well, in that streak, fantastic results, and firing at the right time. So 2-0 victory over Western United at home. Obviously, next week we play against Melbourne City, which so it'll be a battle of third and fourth. And the end of next week, I believe that's a Saturday game as well. So it'll be interesting to see because obviously we're not travelling, we're staying at home. But we'll see how we go. But hopefully the Wanderers can get a win next week as well. But yeah, 2-0 against West United. And next we move on to a game that was playing at the same time roughly as the Western Sydney Wanderers game, or at least part of it was. The Giants, back in the winner's circle again, back-to-back wins, this time at Norwood Oval, and it was a 28-point win over the St Kilda Saints. It looks like they dominated the game pretty early on. It was only 2 points the margin at quarter time, so it wasn't absolutely dominating, but by the end of the third quarter, they were up by almost 8 goals. Well, actually 8 goals too. So they were up by quite a lot, so up by 50 points. They did only score 5 behinds in the last quarter, whereas the Saints did score 4 goals, 3. So they got close. They got very close. But again, we did win by 28 points, but it was definitely that third quarter. Went from halftime, we went from 8 goals 6 to 16 goals 9. So 8 goals and 3 behinds in the third quarter. So that's when they literally exploded. And that's how they blew the game wide open. But fantastic win at Norwood Oval away from home. For both teams, of course, a part of Gather Round, which obviously, if you don't know what Gather Round is, if you know of Magic Round from the NRL or from the Super League, like the English Super League in terms of the rugby over there, and even some like the cricket and like baseball festivals sometimes that they might have, like a particular like group of teams might be playing in the same area. That's the AFL's equivalent is Gather Round, so they all teams, all 18 teams play games against each other in the state of South Australia, most of them around the Adelaide area. So obviously they play at Norwood Oval, which is where the Giants played. There's a new oval at the Barossa Valley. They only just recently opened that one up. They had a few games there, and apparently that ground is fantastic, and obviously some of the big games at the Adelaide Oval. But yeah, 28-point win, fantastic result against St Kilda, and St Kilda are definitely a better team this year than they were the previous last couple of years, because they're firing on all cylinders. They've got 3 wins, 2 losses at the moment, and they're just sitting outside the top 8, so they're just sitting in 9th, so they've dropped to 9th, and we've actually moved up to 3rd now with the win, because obviously Hawthorn lost not convincingly against Port. Like, it was a 59-point lead at half time, and they got it down to within, I think, like 25 points or something like that at the end of the game. So Port Adelaide, like, it was a good win for them, but at the same time, I know that they kind of put the cue in the rack by the end of half time, but you can't do that because I know maybe some of the calls from the umpires might have been, from what I hear, I didn't watch any of the highlights of the game or anything like that, so apparently there was some calls from the umpires that were a bit questionable, but I haven't personally seen the game, so I don't know. But they can't really blame it on just that because, well, there's been a lot of games this year that umpires have been very inconsistent with, especially Adelaide Crows games as of late. And I mean, to say that, but, you know, Adelaide did lose on Thursday night, but they lost pretty convincingly, and most of it was their own fault, really. They just couldn't capitalise in the last quarter in front of goal when they had possession, and they couldn't even get into the forward half as well. A lot of the time with Adelaide, they just kept pressing, but they couldn't just score against Geelong. Geelong's defence was second to none. But yeah, so like I said, it puts us in third, especially with percentage. with a 28-point win. I don't know how many percentage points it actually gives you for that, but we're at 145.4 in terms of percentage right now. Obviously, the teams that are in front, both the Queensland teams in Brisbane and Gold Coast. Obviously, Brisbane are in front by one game, but that's all because they've actually played an extra game, whereas Gold Coast have had their bye as well. But they haven't lost, and Gold Coast haven't lost either. It was looking like Brisbane were actually going to lose against the Bulldogs, and they turned it around in the second half, especially in the third quarter, to almost put their game to bed. But it was pretty close. It was pretty close in terms of that game in particular. Now, if obviously Gold Coast had played the extra game and won it, obviously, their percentage would be a hell of a lot better than both the Giants and Brisbane at the moment, so they would actually go to the top. But just since they haven't had the extra game to play, obviously they're not on the top. So we're in third right now. Obviously, St Kilda dropped to 9th, but not a bad result. I think they only dropped one spot. It's funny because Fremantle have won 3 games straight and have jumped into the 8 with their win over Richmond this weekend, so last weekend. So yeah, so that means that Melbourne, the Melbourne Demons and West Coast Eagles are at the bottom of the ladder. Next week, I believe, should be. Oh, that's right. We don't leave the Adelaide area in South Australia because we play against the Adelaide Crows on Saturday. I think it's the mid game on Saturday. I think 4:15. So I believe there should be an earlier game during that week or during that day, and then when we start at 4:15. So obviously it's 3:45, I believe, Central Time, Australian Central Time. I mean, because obviously if we're playing in South Australia, it's usually half an hour behind. So I believe it should be 3:45 p.m. But yeah, that's a Saturday game in the afternoon, and hopefully we win against the Crows. Again, Adelaide Oval is not our best ground. We have won obviously there before, including last season. Obviously, in terms of records in the last couple of years, we did have a season obviously that we played really well, where we won a lot of ground. We won at a lot of grounds. We won pretty much at home, away, all over the place, and still lost in the finals, of course. But it's a good result so far. The Saints are a better team, so obviously they're going to give us a run for our money. They were in front at the start of around the middle of the first quarter. They were in front by a couple of goals, but then obviously we just fired back and kept it close, and then just blew the game out in the third quarter. So yeah, good result, 28-point win for the Giants over the Saints. And next week we go to Adelaide, or travel shortly to Adelaide to play the Crows. And last but not least, we talk about Liverpool. We'll talk about the Liverpool Reds. Obviously they played early this morning / last night, and I was actually up for pretty much the entire game. I was just watching the table results pop up, but it was a 2-1 win over West Ham. It was looking like it was going to be a draw. We did have a late goal late in the second half to give us the 2-1 lead, and obviously the win from our captain with about 5 to 7 minutes to go in the game, including the stoppage time as well. So great result. Obviously, I think we've only got 6 points. I think we got to get to 2 wins, obviously, in the next 2 games, which are against Leicester and Tottenham, to have an unassailable lead for the Premier League trophy, because Arsenal keep dropping points. They dropped points the other night again, and if they have any chance, which they still have a chance to win the league, they need to be winning pretty much almost all their games at this point. So, yeah, it's a great result, obviously, for Liverpool. Obviously, like I said, we go up against Leicester and we go up against Tottenham in the next 2 games. Yes, they're lower down on the table, but we shouldn't be taking them lightly, especially in the fact that yes, we haven't 100% confirmed our league win, but we need to win these 2 games to confirm that before we play against Arsenal. If we want to confirm it before we play Arsenal, obviously. But obviously, yes, we do have quite a few games still left, but you want to win it early. You want to convincingly win it. So if you win the next 2 games, obviously, you can't lose it. So after playing Arsenal, we can obviously try. If we do end up having a situation where we play against Arsenal in 3 weeks' time and have won the league already, we might be playing some of our recruits and new players and stuff like that, and some of the players that obviously need more experience. It'd be a good way to do that, especially leading into next season, with obviously the Champions League, which obviously we're going to be in, because I don't think we can drop out of a Champions League spot at this point for next season, and obviously leading into the Premier League season anew towards the end of this year. But yeah, good win, 2-1. It's unfortunate from Ipswich Town because they were playing at the same time. They were up 2-0 against Chelsea in the first half, and then Chelsea scored 2 second half goals, including one pretty late in the game to get a 2-2 draw. So kind of sucks for them. It kind of puts them a little bit adrift in terms of points. I think they've got 12 points. I think they've got to make up to knock one of the other teams down into the relegation zone, and for them to escape the relegation zone. Obviously, like I said last week, Southampton are already relegated. They dropped more points. I think they dropped more points this week as well. I was thinking if they had actually played, but I'm pretty sure they have played already, and it was a loss as well. So yeah, so not great for them. Leicester City are in a pretty bad predicament right now. They're only got 15 points, I think, so far this season, and well away from being safe from the relegation zone. Obviously, they can't be confirmed just yet, but obviously a loss to Liverpool and another loss in the next couple of games probably almost confirm it at this point. They can still get out mathematically, but it's, I wouldn't say it's almost impossible, but it's looking that way for Leicester City. And I kind of don't want Ipswich to go down, but they're probably going to go down as well, which sucks. And it looks like it might be Sheffield United, Leeds United, and I'm not sure about third, but at least those 2 look like they're going to be going back up after a season of being up and going back down. So yeah, weird situation in terms of the Championship and in terms of the Premier League. But yeah, 2-1 win for Liverpool over West Ham United. Pretty good result, especially away from home. So can't complain about that too much. Not that far away from having both hands on the trophy. And that'll be it for this episode of How's My Team. Obviously, we had some really good wins. Obviously, the Titans were the only team that lost this week, and lost in a big way. But you can't win all of them, especially when it's a location you have not won at all in the club's history. But just got to add it to the list. Yeah, that's going to sting for a little bit, but hopefully going home is a better result for them. But we'll see how we go, because we've got quite a few good games coming up. Obviously, like I said, with the Titans game, they go home against Canberra Raiders, and Canberra are looking ready to fire at all cylinders. So it's going to be a pretty classic game against 2 really good forward packs. Obviously, we have Adelaide going up against the Giants in Adelaide. We've got the Wanderers up against Melbourne City at home on Saturday, and we've also got Liverpool going up against Leicester City. I believe that also is a Sunday night game, my time. So yeah, but we'll see how we go. Obviously next week is Easter, So I will be trying to put up. I'll be home for most of the weekend. I think Saturday I'm working in the afternoon. It is normally a weekend I usually would have off, but I do have the Friday off this week as well. So obviously because for Good Friday. But I did say I was available on Saturday to work. Obviously not working Easter Sunday, even though my store is actually open where I'm working out, whereas previously where I used to work doesn't open on Easter Sunday, so it's a bit weird. And I'm not working Easter Monday because, of course, it's WrestleMania week this week as well, this weekend coming up. So I'm going to be watching that as well as watching all the sport games, obviously for the teams that I support, and obviously to see if there's any good games, obviously, that come out of Easter weekend. So we'll see what is going to happen. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week for the next episode of How's My Team. And thank you guys so much for watching this episode of How's My Team. This has been Mario Man 100. You guys have a great day and night. And of course, take care.